What's happening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Unparalleled Sports Talk with Joe Kwame Fisher-Jones. As always, I am him. Talking NFL shop, Deshaun Watson's a starter. We're going to break down the Eagles and the Patriots, but I can't do that without my man Chris Franklin of NJ.com. What's good, Chris? You're shaking your head already. We haven't even got started. I'm sensing the Deshaun Watson vitriol coming through the camera, so I won't even prolong it. Deshaun Watson has been named the starter for the Cleveland Browns. They refuse to let $87 million go to waste. Floor is yours.
I'll start with this. It's been a bad day in the state of Ohio, depending on that. Not only if you're an NFL owner, or if you're just a Cleveland Browns fan, what have you. The fact that they decided to go with Deshaun Watson, as we mentioned beforehand, it really shouldn't be a surprise. But the fact that they actually went through with this and decided, you know what? It's just almost like it's like, what's the best way to take all whatever hope? If Cleveland's hopes for this year was like about, I don't know, 3% of making the playoffs, if that, now it's just like, how can we get back our fans? Oh, sorry, we traded Myles Garrett. Oh, yeah, by the way, welcome back to Deshaun Watson. He's our guy to lead us. Just because you paid him all that guaranteed money, just because you feel like I have to show something in return in order to be able to get this and justify this, does not make it, just because you feel it is not the right decision overall. You look at the preseason stats. They're 5 attempts. Deshaun Watson had 5 attempts different. 5 attempts. Shedeur Sanders had a higher completion percentage, 68.2 to 59.3. You look at the passing yards. Watson had 162 whopping yards. Shedeur Sanders only had 153. Sanders threw the only touchdown in the preseason. They both had chances with the first team. Granted, no matter who's behind those offensive lines, they're going to get killed. Maybe this works out better for Shedeur Sanders that Watson comes in. He's a bully. They look horrible the first 2 games, and then they go to home to Cleveland, and then all the boos start raining, and then Shedeur runs on, jogs on the field with that smile and starts doing the whole thing, look to watch. Maybe that happens. But this decision had to come from up top. This wasn't Ty Monkus. I think this was beyond that. I think it was Haslam's decision. Like, hey, we got to get this guy in. Deshaun's looking good, right? Get him in there. To end up with this where we are right now, and we know what
that's what he looked like.
Well, I'm sorry, make sure you buy our products and everything else. And yeah, you'll love Deshaun Watson and you'll like it. That's what it feels like. I don't get this decision.
Well, I mean this in the most respectful way. Full story, Katie. Like great numbers, great narrative, all that shit. Bottom line, one number that only matters. 87 million. 87 million. That's the cap hit they take for the next 2 years if they cut Deshaun Watson. 87 million. There is nothing that Shedeur Sanders could have done outside of looking like the next Randall Cunningham. Yes, I said Randall because that's my guy, Randall Cunningham. But outside of looking like Patrick Mahomes, Randall Cunningham, John Elway all rolled in one, that was going to get him the number one position. You know why? Because it is better for a team to go from Deshaun Watson and maybe looking inept, not the offense not moving, to Shedeur Sanders than it is to go from Shedeur Sanders, offense looking inept, not moving, to going to Deshaun Watson. The bottom line is the ceiling has hit. The roof is hit. It's collapsed. It's on fire for Deshaun Watson. He is not the guy who was in the Houston Texans. He's a guy who right now is a character of himself, who is talking about the fans. And the old football adage. When you start worrying about the fans and listening to the fans, you're very soon to become one. So with that being said, I still like my prediction on the Browns, 7-8 wins. They can go to Shedeur seamlessly, and Shedeur can come in and man the ship, and have some lights out plays and galvanize that team. Deshaun Watson is oatmeal. It's not going to change. No matter you have raisins, brown sugar, white sugar, bananas, raspberries. My guy, it's oatmeal. It's good. It is what it is. And Deshaun at this stage of his career is oatmeal. It's not going to change. He's mundane. He's boring. And you're hoping to get a glimpse of, they're hoping to get that Michael Vick. A great point I heard on, I want to say it was Eric Mangini on First Things First. I hope I got it right, but he made a great point. You've seen the resurrection of Geno Smith. You've seen the resurrection of Baker Mayfield. They're hoping to get some of that with Deshaun Watson. The problem is those guys had football-related issues that hampered their career. Even with Baker, even though it was locker room, it was still football related issues. Deshaun's issues were off the field. And that has just changed who he is as a person, which, guilty, not guilty, whatever, that would change you. So that's manifested itself on the field. He's not the same players. But the fact of the matter is, dude, I paid for that muffler. So I'm going that muffler. I paid for that sandwich. I'm going to eat that sandwich. I paid for that. You know where I'm going with this. They paid for it, so they're going to get their most out of it. So I felt like this was like, duh, it's Monday and everybody's sad. Like, just this was just gonna happen. I'm surprised that there's so much backlash. Like this, I saw my guy Emery Hunt had a whole short about it, a whole reel about it. But it was like, did did you think something was like? Did Shador do anything? You said he threw the only touchdown. He also had two or three interceptions. He hasn't even looked good at times. I mean, am I missing something there?
There was the one throw he threw, that one interception he threw was a catchable ball, and his receiver just tipped it and decided to go, okay, that, and it got returned back for a good portion. So they were, to me, in my eyes, they're even on that aspect. I also believe you lost part of the locker room, because I think we remember the end of last year, or remember last season, you saw how many people, veterans included, were really going out there saying Shador is the guy. We feel galvanized by him when he's in there. Now, granted, that was Dylan Gabriel versus him, but even with Deshaun Watson back, I think there's a little error. There's an error feeling like, you know what, you just you lost part of the locker room. You're really going to go to this guy? We've seen what he's done every other time he's done there. And then there's two other factors I think that really comes for this, and I really want to watch as the season progresses. One is the owners are thanking Haslam. They are thanking him they're thanking for the way that it's turned out with Deshaun Watson, because now no quarterback and no player is going to get a fully guaranteed contract ever. The other one is, in my opinion, there's only three places in the whole entire league, well, for the Cardinals, I think could be one too, where you're going to see teams at home having to operate this out of silent count because it's going to be too much noise. The Chargers, because it's always one of those places where you see it going,
oh, you went there. You went there.
For a different reason. Chargers in Miami, they're going to be bad. And you're going to get, at least they're going to get visiting teams on there. The silent count is going to come from Cleveland fans booing every time that Deshaun Watson's on there. Not only after that, but what he said about the fans too. Oh, they are hating him.
Yeah, but I hate to say it, but it needs to be said. Dude, you live in Cleveland. Like, you gotta assume, dude, the list of things you should be unhappy about is a lot longer than Deshaun Watson. Like, Deshaun Watson's like number 45 on a list of things to be miserable about living in Cleveland, Ohio. Like, miss me with that, man. Gag me with a spoon. Like, I'm good on the Cleveland fans being upset and booing. Like, dude, it's cold in January. It's cold in June in Cleveland. Like, stop it. Moving along on that note, he won't be that bad. Deshaun was a very high IQ player when he was in Houston. The division, the AFC North, isn't what it used to be. Pittsburgh's defense is questionable at best. Baltimore's defense probably will be good, but it won't be Ray Lewis good, Ed Reed good. And then finally, you got the Cincinnati Bengals, my favorite team, the Bungles. They'll be okay. So it's not like he's going to go up against the Chad Johnson AFC North. So it'll be okay. And Cleveland will be all right. And listen, I've said it, I opened it up, and I'll close it up with this. It's easier to go from Deshaun to Shador than it is to go from Shador to Deshaun. So everybody take a breath, RELAX, and just let it play out. Dude, it wasn't like they just benched like I was gonna say something silly. I was gonna say Jimmy Superfly Snooker. But like it's not like they just benched a Hall of Famer. Shador wasn't like he had that one throw. That's what you say. He hasn't been lights out either. If he came in and beat the brakes off of Watson, then you would have an argument. They were neck and neck. And Deshaun's had 19 surgeries in 20 days. Like he should have been annihilating this dude, and he didn't. So I'm okay with the change. I don't have Cleveland's gonna be a meat and potatoes offense anyway. They're going to run the ball. They're going to be physical. They're going to have short plays. Hopefully, with every once in a while, if a team makes mistakes, they'll be able to go the distance. But it's not like they're going to be a game-breaking offense and they're just missing a quarterback. So they'll be all right. I got nothing to see there. I'll give the final word of the topic to you.
Well, when you mentioned that and you say that type style of offense, it's going to be a lot of Harold fan and a lot of screen passes and ways to try to maximize that offensive line in order to try to give them at least some time. Like the best thing they can do is just play stout defense. Hope the defense is not only because you lost Jim Schwartz, but I hope that defense at least show some semblance of being. It's not. I don't think it's going to be as good as it was last year. Not just the fact that you lost Miles Garrett. No, I think that's they lost. But I think Jared versus that type of guy that can soak up some of that
Yeah,
lost production.
I would agree.
It's a matter of if he can stop teams on third down and be on the field as long as what expected. Because back one season doing that, okay, I can see that. Maybe that. If you're on back-to-back seasons and you have to be on the field forever and ever and ever, these guys are just getting worn down even sooner than they normally did last year. So, yeah, Monken better be in and suit up. It's gonna be
It'll be
tough.
okay, man. It's. Listen, I know you got the Browns and the Cardinals in the Super Bowl, but you'll be all right. It'll be all right. Now, I want to switch gears to a versus. It's a very important versus because this has my favorite team, the Philadelphia Eagles, pitted against your favorite team. No, the team that we jumped on the bandwagon late but called it early, the New England Patriots. I will give you a pat on the back. I'll give myself a pat on the back, something I rarely do. We called the Patriots going to the Super Bowl midseason, and they delivered for us and they got to the Super Bowl. And for that, they picked up A.J. Brown, which probably just solidified the fact that they will not be going to the Super Bowl. Now I'm taking shots at AJ for no reason. But no, so the verses is simple. Which team will have a better record and who will go further in the playoffs? I like the Eagles on both fronts, but I'm gonna give the mic to you first. Who do you think will have the better record and who do you think will go further in the playoffs?
I think the Eagles are going to have the better record when everything's said and done, and I think they are going to go further through the playoffs. I have them going potentially on the NFC to the NFC Championship game. I think
Yeah,
more
me too.
realistically, I'm settling back a little bit, maybe the divisional round because I need to see some things from this offense a little bit more consistency from this offense. I just need to see that stuff, and that'll come. Like it's slow. There's no new system, but I just want to see that happen, and then I feel a little bit better in terms of that. I think the Patriots just it's died down a little bit, but there's two things I'm waiting on. That tough beginning first 5 games of that schedule is going to be
Yeah,
rough. But
yeah.
that thing that's died down, we haven't heard about the Vrabel Rossini stuff. And they like to do those retrospects from the beginning of the season. They start going, well, what's happened this all season? Well, we all know what happened.
Yo,
Mike Vrabel, blah, 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 blah.
yo.
I'm saying, it's going to pop up. Yeah, and it's
Oh,
going to be a distraction.
man.
They're going to get asked about it. And then, you hate to say it, she hasn't spoken yet.
Who?
Somebody's going to offer her a lot of money to
Who?
speak. Rossini,
She's
like
not
and
gonna
like
do
an
it.
interview, a sit down interview, because she's going to have to get her brand back going. Somebody's going to have
She
to do that. It's going to be persona, and before she gets a new deal, she's going to talk. So at some point, this all might flare up again, and that's a huge distraction with the beginning of that season with that schedule. So that slow start's really going to put them behind the 8 ball. I think it's enough for the Bills. It's enough where I think the Bills take advantage of that, and then we start to see. I think the Patriots are a wild card team at best, maybe a 6 seed, maybe because I have questions about the long term questions about their defense and some of their offensive stuff.
I've got a question for you. I want to dissect the Patriots, but first with Rossini, I don't. She was really good at her job, and I I don't throw rocks when you live in a glass house. Like I'm not perfect, so I don't bestow judgment on anybody else. Um, if they did tamper, if she did tamper and she helped Mike Vrabel get AJ Brown to New England, God bless him. It worked out for everybody. AJ's where he wanted to be. The Eagles got two guys in Wicks and Lemon that are supposed to help fill out. AJ won a Super Bowl with Philly. He's looking for a Hall of Fame resume at this point. So I don't know if that's the guy you want to bring into a team that wants to go to the Super Bowl because that's a team goal. Hall of Fame resume is individual. With that said, I really don't have much on that. I think she was good enough at her job that she should get another opportunity based on merit. Same thing with Rachel Nichols. They were two of the best in the game, and sports coverage is better with them doing it. Just like Marie Taylor is one of the best, and NBC is better with her making the calls. So that's really, I'm kind of boring on that. I will say this about them. You mentioned the first couple games of the season, and that to me is I have them going 9-8. I have them going 9-8, specifically because I believe they go 1-4 in that first stretch. When you bring up their excuse me, when you bring up their schedule at Seattle, I actually have them winning that game, but
Mm.
love that, Chris. I love it. Love that. I was about to say I have them winning that game, but dude, I wouldn't put anything on it more than a couple crackers. Like I believe they come home and beat Pittsburgh, but they lose at Jacksonville. They lose at Buffalo. They beat the Raiders. They beat the Jets. They lose at Chicago. They lose in Miami. The Packers could be a toss up, and then they beat Detroit. That's 3-7. The 3-7 to start the season. And I'll go over real fast again. I have them beating the Seahawks. I have them beating the Steelers. Excuse me, 4-6. I have them beating the Raiders and Jets. So yeah, 4-6, and beating the Detroit Lions. So 4-6, 5-5 in that first 10 games. After that, I got them losing to the Chargers, beating the Bills, beating the Vikings, losing to Kansas City, losing to the Jets in New York, and losing to the Broncos, and then beating the Dolphins. So I didn't do the math again in my head, but before we did the show for my prep work, I had them at 9-8. I know they looked at last year's Super Bowl and said if we had one game breaker, it goes our way. So that's the logic behind adding AJ Brown. The problem is their game. The NFL likes to do this thing with drop and plug and play. You know, this guy was a monster here, he'll be a monster there. Or he was a monster there, he'll be a monster here. That doesn't work in professional sports. In isolated situations, it does. A great stat that I always throw at people, and it may have changed a little bit throughout the years, but if you look at the last 30 years in the NBA, Rasheed Wallace, Kawhi Leonard are the only Hall of Famers to change teams, and those teams win NBA titles within that same. I think Rasheed Wallace was a trade in the middle of the season from the Hawks. And obviously, we know Kawhi Leonard came from the Spurs, but those are the only guys that trades happened, and it instantly delivered a championship. Now, I'm sure somebody can fact check me and argue, but those are the first guys that come to mind. That's the last 30 years. We look at the NFL. Help me here. Has it happened where a guy that's trajectory is going to, and AJ's headed to the Hall of Fame? That has it happened? I mean, maybe Terrell Owens going to the Super Bowl, but he didn't have a touchdown catch in the Super Bowl. So help me out here. You're reaching.
I'm thinking it's going to happen this year, but I don't think it's going to be AJ Brown. I think it's another
Maybe
player.
Tom Brady, but was Tom Brady a trade or was he free
No,
agent?
free agent. Yeah.
Yeah, so free agency is a little different because you're picking where you're going, so they've got relationships outside of football, like or outside of the field with coaching staffs and trainers. I think Tom Brady had a trainer that was in Florida that he was literally on the Buccaneers team with him. So, long story short, I don't see AJ coming in and being a difference maker for the team. I see him being a difference maker for his Hall of Fame credentials. Because if he was trying to win a championship, he'd have stayed in Philly. Agreed, right?
Yeah.
Would you agree with
Yeah.
that?
I
So,
would. Wholeheartedly.
so what are we talking about here? Like, why are we in New England then? Because I want bigger numbers. And I like the Drake. I think the Drake will be a great quarterback. I don't think he'll be good. I think he'll be a great. If you remember last year, and I'm soaking up the air, but I'm gonna give it back to you. If you remember last year when we did our Super Bowl predictions, said the day the Geechee is here, like the day the dawn is here. The Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow quarterback route Rushmore, the AFC is out of here, and we got the new guns coming in. And I mentioned CJ Stroud in that list, even though his numbers wise struggle. We're gonna do a Super Bowl prediction next week. Chargers, Texans, and Jaguars. One of them mofos are gonna be in the AFC Championship game. And Chris, I haven't nailed it down yet, but I'm really feeling Charger Texans Super Bowl run. That's where I'm at with this. Now, going back to our point though. So I believe the Drake is going to be on that Mount Rushmore quarterbacks. I don't think last year was a fluke. I don't think it's a Mac Jones run where Josh McDaniels just coached him up. I believe the Drake is here to stay. I also think he's going to struggle a lot with AJ Brown. because he's going to force feed AJ Brown, a la Brett Favre, Sterling Sharp. God, I dated myself with that. Floor is yours.
See, and I look at when you talk about AJ Brown, and I think to me personally, it looks like okay, you're going to get the cloud coverage. We see wherever he goes, the coverage rolls over towards his side.
Mhm.
So then, for the offense to be successful, you have to have a good number two, or what have you. To me, in my
Say that
opinion,
part again.
Devontae Smith,
Say that part again. Say that part again. A good
you
number
have to have
two.
a good number two. And to me, I'm sorry, Romeo Dobbs, he's nice. The problem with him is he has trouble with drops. Remember last year with the Packers, and in those last few weeks, he's putting up some numbers, but he disappeared. Like now, in his defense, some wide receivers just disappear in that Packers offense. But I digress on that. But Dobbs is coming in there now. He's got a injury history. I want to say like a concussion, head injury, stuff like that. So you're hoping that he's able to withstand all that. And so you're looking at that. Then if you miss him for like 4 games, what have you, something pops up, hammy, whatever, because it's a legit thing you have to worry on now. Demario Douglas or Mac Hollins, nah, I just don't see it. And you
They
can say,
don't.
well, they
They
can
don't
rely
make
on
them.
Hunter
They
Henry.
don't make them tingle. They don't make you tingle. Either none of those guys make you tingle.
No. So you're looking now, and it's not like Roger Stevenson can be okay. I think he's all right. Trayvon Henderson was giving him a run for his money at times in the past. I just don't. This offense is nice, but if AJ has to go his way, like, and AJ will demand the ball, and if you keep force feeding, we've seen it like in the practices, like the Clemson practice, what have you. You keep force feeding them slants and digs and what have you. They're just going to come. They're just going to say, okay, you know what? We're just going to bracket you, beat us somewhere else. And I'm sorry if I had to take, I don't know, if it's any other team, say they got to the Super Bowl, say they make another run. You mean to tell me that offense can still find a way to beat either the Rams defense or the Eagles defense right now, like starters, not the ones we saw in preseason? No, it can't.
And I want to throw this out there too. Both the Broncos and Texans are one, and I just checked again to see make sure they were still going to be statistically one of the better defense. I know people think the Broncos are going to come back to earth, but I don't. They're not going to come fall that far off. So you still got good defenses out there. And all right, I don't. For the sake of dating myself, the Patriots had Wes Walker, Tom Brady. They had the receiver from the Rams that played for the Eagles for a little bit, and then he wound up having a nice little run in New England. I forget his name, little small receiver, was nice in the slot. He played for the Rams and he played for the Eagles for a little bit. I forget his name, but he also had
Not
Tom
Kevin
Brady.
Curtis.
No, not Kevin Curtis.
Not Kevin Curtis.
Um,
No.
he played for the Eagles and then he had a good run with the Patriots with Tom Brady. It doesn't matter. The name will come to you later. They had Tom Brady.
It's getting me.
All right. Chad Johnson struggled in the Josh Childress offense. Uh, Randy Moss, I won't say struggled because he had tremendous numbers. Go route. That's what we saw Randy Moss pretty much run when he was in New England. Why? And it's about 50-50 shot that A.J. Brown's going to come in and pick up that offense right away. It's a 50-50 shot that the other receivers are going to come in and pick up that offense. And when you're talking about a receiver struggling with drops, it's an umbrella with a hole in it. Yeah, you're not going to get soaked, but you're still going to get wet. Yeah, he may not drop everything, but he's still going to have serious drops throughout the season. So it's like, and the Wicks are going. Wicks, the Eagles are going to go through the same problem with Wicks. Like drops are not one of those things that you just, what are you going to do? Yeah, Jerry Rice struggled with drops, and he had a great career. Terrell Owens, to the end of his career, struggled with drops. Drops are like a receiver that drops the ball. Chris Carter had one of the greatest lines ever. Your job is to catch the ball. That's it. Anything else you do is bonus. The number one job is to catch the football. So 9-7, 9-8 is what I'm feeling. And you kind of made a face when I say this, so I'll bring that point out to you. Is it a foregone conclusion that AJ Brown's going to walk in and pick up this Josh Childress offense and just seamlessly transition where Stephon Diggs left off?
Oh no, I made a face. I
Stephon
think I
Diggs,
finally got it.
I forgot. My bad. Stephon Diggs didn't hit the floor running either last year.
Yeah, yep. Was you talking about? I had the aha moment. Was it Dante Stallworth?
No, it wasn't Dante Starr. I'll look it up. Go ahead, because it looks like
Sorry,
you're
I had
no.
that. That's how I was like, maybe it was him. Nah, but
No, it's not. No, it's not.
I look. I think he can come in. I think he can come in and be all right because with him, a lot of things is going to be like if you looking at McDaniel's like his old playbooks and what have you, and what they did and their type of schemes, he fits in their prototypical receiver. Like the type of receiver he's always wanted is AJ Brown. You're just the thing that is going to take time and that could really be adverse against them early on is getting used to that 50-50 ball, those jump balls deep in the on the deep around the sideline, because those are an art. Like you could throw into the buckets, you could throw into those nets and trash cans, whatever, all the time. But making sure you get into him, and it's good that he has his size. You need to make sure that his knees holding up and able to jump and everything else, because all of his things are going to be contested catches when it comes to those types of routes. He's strong enough to push everybody off, but yeah, that works out fine. So I think you can rely off that early on, but you need your run game to really be good enough to like really open things up for him to do that play action, to run the play action off him and get him freed up so that we can put yourself in a position to run that play and take a shot down the field with him.
Julian Edelman was another receiver that came in, but again, Tom Brady in the slot, different type of receivers, and just a little different type of quarterback back there. Just saying. I'm going to put a bow on it like this. I think the Patriots will be a good football team. I really believe the AFC is just going to be a really good conference, and it's up for grabs. And it's bottom heavy. So when you think of the AFC, you think of the Jets, Dolphins, and Titans. But what you and Brown, what we talk about. But what you don't think about is the Broncos, is the Texans, is the Jaguars. And I don't even know if the Jaguars will be that good, but they have that home field advantage. Now we got 10 minutes left. I got to talk Eagles now. So we both agree the Eagles are going to go to the NFC title game. For me, I got them going 14-3. 3 losses, a possible 13-4. But I have them going 14-3 and playing the Bears in the title game. Possible loss at San Francisco, going for their 4th loss. My 3 losses are going. One of them is going to shock you, and I want you to unpack this. So I had them losing to, losing to Dallas and losing to the Rams. All right. I also have them losing at Tennessee in week 2 against the Robert Saleh defense. Jalen Hurts struggles with his defenses. He's played them twice, 48 and 80. He's going 48 for 80 in those games, 448 yards, 59% completion percentage, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He struggles against Saleh's defense. He struggled in the 49ers game, in the playoff game against Saleh's defense. And if you go back a few years, he struggled at the Jets when he played them. I think at the Jets, he had I want to say 3 interceptions that game. So those are my 3 losses. What say you?
I actually have them going. I think I had them going 11-6, and then
Really?
they're a 3 seed. Yeah, I have them going as a 3
Wow.
seed because, I look at it because I think the division is a lot tougher. I think they split with. Definitely think they split with the Cowboys. I definitely
Okay.
think they split with the. Surprisingly, I think they split with the Commanders. I just think they're highly of the Commanders here, and Giants are going to be like I said beforehand.
Danny
Whoever
Amendola.
between
That was the receiver I was thinking about.
oh, I remember. Yeah, I remember. Okay, yeah, I
All right,
remember.
go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, too. When I look at the Giants game, whoever sweeps the Giants series, I think is going to win the division, and I think the Eagles
Well,
wind
the
up
Eagles are
doing
going to
that. But
switch the Giants, but I think Dallas switched the Giants too. But go ahead.
it's that it's going to come down that close. And then when you look at some of the other things, I think they beat the Rams again, which is just like you think like what the heck. My main crux, and I rely on this heavily because I really truly believe it. When you have good teams, you have a team coming from the West Coast playing at 1 o'clock, which for me, I'm like, why is this game at 1 o'clock in the afternoon? This is a 4:25 Sunday night type of matchup. Why is this at 1 o'clock? But here we are. I think that helps the Eagles. I think they win that game. I think they like you mentioned the Titans. I see that. I can see that being a struggle because
Yeah.
it's out in a weird thing. It's still early enough in the season. They still could struggle offensively. But then
Yep.
I'm like, it's the Titans offense. I don't see them making enough plays when I have that. I look on the back end one. I look at the surprise. I look at the Seahawks. I look at the Texans. I look at the Niners. I look at something about the Colts. I don't know what it is. It's they
You
always the Eagles,
always do that with a team like that. You always do that. You were on that
and it's
freaking
not.
Cardinals bandwagon forever. It took forever.
But
Like I swear, I thought you owed somebody money in Arizona. Like you just
no, no, not even that. But it's just we always see them lay a stinker at some point in that second half. The like 2 years ago, we looked at when they were in that Mail slump. They shouldn't have lost the Cardinals. Should have lost to the Giants. They shouldn't be struggling with some of those teams, but they did. So I think there's a clunker in there as well too. To me, it's the way they start out with. I think they're still going to adjust and try to get used to this offense. And one thing we haven't talked about is we talked about Devontae Smith. You mentioned Wicks, who has to learn that he's pretty familiar with the system, but he drops a lot. Makai Lemon was supposed to come in here and play a vital role early on. He's missed
Struggle
most
with
of
hamstring.
training camp with a hammy. He's finally coming back, but when it comes to that, he needs game speed, he needs the timing, he needs to feel that. And okay, he can be the jet sweep guy. You can get those things that way too, or a quick screen stuff like that. Yeah, but you need him more enabling that offense. So I look at some of these things. I think it's going to be tough going defensively, though. I think this defense can get back to 2024 level because
Yeah,
remember
and
when they were
that's
really
the
good.
difference.
Yep, they have four. I think they have four defensive tackles now. Ty Robinson merging along with Moro Jomo and obviously Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. Now I think they're even deeper at the edge positions too. They're going to cut somebody, hide them. There's going to be a couple guys that's like, yeah. So I think they're defensively they can keep defense is going to keep them the games. The offense early on trying to get acclimated to that system. I think that's what holds them back early, but I think they'll be all right.
We
And
got
I have
5 minutes left. I got to get this. I got to get this off my chest.
all right.
So Nick Sirianni's been with the Eagles 5 years now. He's 15-5 in his first 4 games of the season over that 5 years. So he's pretty good the first quarter of the season. His first year, the Eagles went 9-8. Then they went 14-3. Next year after that, they went 11-6. Then they went 14-3. The next year they went 11-6. And here we sit, the 6th year. Now, once is an accident, twice is a habit, 3 is who you are. 9-8, 14-3, 11-6, 14-3, 11-6. I'm just saying, 14-3 is what it feels like. I look at the schedule. The Seahawks is all right, but they're not real. Who else would you throw in there? Who's the only guys? Quarterbacks are always the guys that I look at when I look at a roster. They're always going to split with Dak, so that's a loss. They're always going to split with Dak. When you look at it for Brock Purdy, he's all right, but he's not real. Matthew Stafford, good quarterback. I like him to come in that early in the season. I think the clunker kind of falls there and they struggle there. The big thing that I really look at in the Tennessee game is not so much our defense against their offense, it's our offense against their defense. And all they need is a pick six or a big fumble. Final point to you. The difference this year, you mentioned the wide receivers. The run game is going to set up the passing game. They're going to change their blocking schemes, which is something that the coach for New Orleans did when he got here. Kelly, what was his name? The coach for New Orleans,
Kellen Moore.
Kellen Moore, changed it. And Jalen really flourishes with quarterbacks that have played in the NFL. Kellen Moore, he flourished with the first coordinator he flourished with, had a cup of coffee in the NFL, I believe. Correct me if I'm
Steichen.
wrong. Yeah,
Shea Steichen.
yeah. And for those of you who don't know, Sean Mannion also played in the NFL, had a cup of coffee in there. So the first thing when those guys come in and I got pushed against it, they change the way the Eagles block, not just in the perimeter, but in space, which will help their running game. The running game will focus more on the passing game. They're running packages now with Dallas Garrett and Dallas Garrett in the background, screwing up his name because I'm Russian, but with him playing the fullback position. So they're doing different things to get more efficiency out of their running game. That's going to help everybody. Floor is yours.
Yeah, when you look at the run game, you mentioned this right, and I feel very encouraged because you have an athletic offensive line to get them in space and get into second level. Cam Jurgens getting to a second level to set up another run. I like that as well too, and I think it's going to be better. These guys are going to be more to the aggressors, I think, in this system. So that way, I think you look at guys like Landon Dickerson, you look at that one. The way it could set up, I think it could be a little bit less wear and tear for what they were doing in some of those gap assignment runs and so that. So I think the run game is going to be very important, very successful, and Saquon's going to have a bounce back here.
Lemon, Brown, Wicks, Smith. Who has the bigger year?
Smith. I think Smith gets over 1,000 yards again, and I think we finally see him in the Pro Bowl. I really do.
I believe Smith has the has a more productive year, but I think Wicks has the bigger year. I think he has some drops, but I think he's a guy that struggles with speed, but coming in and knowing the offense, and also teams are going to shade their coverage over to Smith early on. So that's going to create a lot of opportunities for him to make some plays. He's going to get rolling early. They gave him a 1 year extension, but I don't know if it's guaranteed that or not guaranteed past that. That's also a little bit of incentive there. So I really think Wicks has the more impactful year. I don't know if Lemon's going to do the things that we think he's going to do early on. We'll see. Hopefully it comes out. That's it for this episode of Unparalleled Sports Talk. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe, whatever your podcast platform allows you to do. For Chris Franklin and Kwame Fisher Jones, until next week, we appreciate your time and you be easy.